When have you caused the most harm to yourself? Now I've got to a point where I'm just like, I was trying to appease society, trying to appease my peers, my parents, without actually listening and checking in and going, well, what do you want? Who are you?
Hello, welcome back to We Dive Deeper. My name is Kate McGill, and this is the podcast where small talk goes to die. Absolutely no small talk allowed here. I have 70 of my all-time favourite questions, each one as deep and as probing as the last, and my guests pick at random, and then amazing conversation happens. I implore you to ask these questions to the people around you in your life because just try it, just give it a go. So I hope you guys all enjoyed Gabrielle's episode, and have you listened to her new song Kintsugi? Oh my god, what a cool concept. And she's just announced a new album and she's touring. Again, how did I get lucky enough to have Gabrielle Aplin on the podcast? And if that wasn't enough, today I've got Josephine from fucking Oh Wonder. What the hell? I do wonder how that happened. Dan and I actually did our dual EP with Ant from Oh Wonder, and that was just around the time that they were just about to release Body Gold, their first ever single, and they showed us some songs in the studio and they showed us All We Do, and I just remember thinking, holy fucking crap, these are insane. Like, what talented songwriters and producers and everything in between. And I haven't sat down with Jose properly since then, like 4 or 5 years ago maybe. So it kind of felt like we were meeting again as two new people because we've changed so much, I imagine, in that amount of time. So just so cool to sit down with her. And she just makes me feel amazing, which sounds so weird, but I left there feeling so good about myself. She has such an amazing energy and you cannot help but be infected by it and just want to be better and do better and feel good about yourself because she just makes you feel good about yourself. We get into all things body image and diet culture and what it means to be a woman in the music industry, confidence, her wanting to be a paramedic. We just go all in and it's such a cool conversation. Do not forget that you can get the last chunk of this episode and all other We Dive Deeper episodes exclusively on my Patreon a week earlier than everyone else too. And at the end of this chat with Jose, we get into more of Oh Wonder and their new album, what songs are on there, what they're kind of about. There's lots of user questions, so not to be missed at patreon.com/Kate McGill. Before we get into that chat, I am going to do review of the week, and I've made my own theme tune up and it goes like this: review of the week. So now that is over and done with, review of the week is by Jess Grayley. She made me feel amazing. She says, Kate is an utter genius at everything she puts her mind to. I think you're wrong there, but I really, really appreciate it. I could have gone my whole life without saying that bit of the review. Anyway, I'm wasting more of your time. I followed her music for quite a few years and didn't actually know it was Kate behind her We Dive Deeper podcast series until she mentioned Meadowlark in one of the episodes. How crazy. They were one of my fave bands when I was younger. I was so amazed, and now season 2 is out and I couldn't be happier. By far my absolute favourite podcast series out there, 100% worth a listen for some absolute truth and refreshing view on the hardships of life. In love with everything you make. When you were younger, we've only been around for like 5 years. How young are you still? Or how old are you? I just don't know. But okay, let's get on with conversation with Josephine from Oh Wonder. Take it away. That was weird.
Has it changed how you live, like day to day?
Or
bigger than that, I suppose.
Yeah, no, it definitely has, because Mum anyway was like, she was a monk. She got like what they called, like an Ashaya name or something. So she went on like a mountain for 3 months in Spain, and she kind of was doing meditation and becoming like an awakened, enlightened being for quite a while before she died. So she was teaching us as kids, and definitely me, because I was more on that wavelength about it. So when she died and you're in the pits of grief and then other stuff that have happened since, it's the darkness, that sounds way too like religious, but the pits of sadness kind of force you to do something with it. You're just like, I cannot be this sad forever. Like this is not this. I can't live like this. So it kind of forced me into doing more of this stuff and forcing me to find different ways of being happy. So doing more spiritual stuff and reading more books or whatever. So it's definitely changed me as a human, but I wouldn't have got there if it wasn't for mum anyway, and mum dying. So it's all come full circle. And the more annoying part is that all the stuff that I'm learning now, she effectively taught me, and I just want to sit down with her and be like, can you teach me more now?
Yeah.
Like, I really know it all, and you'd be an incredible mentor. But then there's, I don't know how much I'm on board with the whole, they're everywhere, they're in everything, even though everything in me kind of believes that. When you obviously you get those really sad moments, you're like, well, where the fuck is she then? Like, send me a message from the beyond. But yeah, I think it's definitely changed me, but in a good,
Yeah, of course it has.
in a good way. Anyway, we've just started chatting about my mum. Welcome to the We Dive Deeper podcast.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. We're in, where actually are we?
We're kind of on the edge of Lewisham and Brockley in southeast London, yeah.
This street, I mean, it says that, there's going to be a lot of that. It said that this Airbnb is on Lewisham Way, but it looks like it's on Friendly Street.
Yes.
And I think that's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, Friendly Street, banging street. Everyone's actually pretty miserable down Friendly Street. Or at least there's a coffee shop where the guy's super grumpy. But anyway, we'll just say it's friendly for now.
That's amazing. Okay, so do you know how this works?
Yes.
70 questions.
Yes.
And you're going to pick a number at random.
Okay.
Go.
28.
Did you have that prepared? It sounded like you did.
Yeah, I was very, very confident that, wasn't it? No, not at all.
Okay, we're going straight in. When have you caused the most harm to yourself?
Oh my God. Jeez.
That doesn't have to be physical, obviously.
When have I caused the most harm? Oh my gosh, let me think about it. That's so deep. That's like beyond deep.
I don't think we've ever started with that question.
When have I caused the most harm?
I can maybe help that along by telling you mine. I guess it goes along the same lines of a question I asked on my Instagram yesterday, actually. What does self-sabotaging look like to you?
Yeah.
And I can cause harm to myself emotionally by beating myself up every day over something that's ridiculous. And like food, for example, is a huge thing. But also physically, when it comes to if I'm in a bad mood or I've looked myself in the mirror and I don't think I look good, then I will go on a binge eating rampage.
Yeah.
And I'm sat there like, I literally know that this is awful for me and I'm going to feel awful. And I do feel awful right now.
Yeah.
But I inflict all of that on myself for whatever reason. I haven't really, I guess, dug deep enough to think, why are you actually doing this?
Yeah.
But I pretty much cause that harm probably on a weekly basis.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. I can mirror that and say I used to do that. I guess it's in my early 20s I really suffered with like self-confidence and self-worth and self-esteem and anything with the word self in it, basically. Just didn't I don't know where that came, well, I do know where that came from, that's a whole another story, but and used to use food as a vehicle for comfort and for nourishment in a very physical way. It was like I'm feeding myself, which means I must love myself, because I think that's where all binging comes from, is that there's a hole which isn't actually hunger. It's a hole in yourself and your being and your self-esteem, and you're just filling it with anything. And I know what that feels like, to be like, I just need to put anything in my mouth and I'll feel better. And there's no like end point, there's no like goal. There's like, you pass hunger to the point where you feel a bit sick and you're like, I'm still going. But I definitely used to have that for quite a few years in my early 20s, and have since unraveled that and spent a long time unraveling that and working out what my hole was. Everybody has their own reason for having a hole, right? And actually it's probably buried very, 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 very deep in how you've been brought up as a kid and how you've been taught to love yourself, or have you, or if people around you loved you and nourished you and cared for you to enable you to care for yourself. And yeah, so I guess I've caused myself harm by thinking that I'm not worthy or good enough, which still happens, but way less frequently now. But it used to be like daily. Just thought I was awful.
Where did that come from then?
So, oh man,
If you're willing to
yeah,
share.
no, I am. It's just a very macro thing. So I guess my whole thing that I'm dealing with at the minute is that I think now I'm finally the person I'm meant to be. Like
Amazing.
as of this year, I feel like I'm now this is me, and I don't mind that it's not like the most perfect version of a human, and it's not necessarily the person I thought I would be, but I'm okay with it and it's cool. And I think I spent a lot of my younger years trying to be somebody that I wasn't, and probably due to the fact, my parents had really, really high ambitions for me. They wanted, my life to look a certain way and me to be a certain way. And as all parents do, they have, and it comes from absolutely a place of love, and they have high hopes for their kids, right? And I feel like it took me a long time to just be like, well, thanks for that, but actually I'm just going to listen to myself for a minute. So I guess on a really like macro level, it came from trying to fit into a box that I didn't fit in. And that's loads of things. So that's like, I'll give you some tangible examples. So like my parents always wanted me to go to university and study languages or be a lawyer or study English. And music was always a hobby. So I was just not allowed to go to music college. I was not allowed to study music at school. I was just like forbidden. I tried to quit uni twice, 3 times, plagiarised, tried to get kicked out. Just wouldn't allow me to pursue music as a career choice, which is pretty dark, right?
Oh my God, yeah.
So then I think that's one example. Another example is what we were talking about just now, like about self-esteem. And I think I could talk about this forever, but being a woman growing up in the 90s, noughties, and I think now we're getting to a point where it's certainly better. It's on an upward curve. But we grew up at the height of, oh my God, like thinness was just everything to be like to aspire to. That was it. If you were thin equals beautiful. And I'm certainly like, I look at that and laugh at that narrative now, and I don't even engage with it in the world, so I don't even see it. I'm just like, I don't have time for thinness equals beautiful. It's a load of bullshit. I'm about like strong equals beautiful, and I mean that physically and mentally. But anyway, so then lived through, my teens. I was like an awkward teenager, and I had really big boobs, and I was like the tallest one in my class at age 11, and then I stopped growing basically from the age of 11, and then was the really short one, and just had like loads of issues with my body, and inherited that from my mom. And I think so that's another example of like trying to fit into a box that I'm not designed to fit in. I've never been the smallest person ever, and my body, I'm a woman, freaking hell, like I have a massive ass and I love it. And now I've got to a point where I'm just like, I was trying to appease society, trying to appease my peers, my parents, without actually listening and checking in and going, well, what do you want? Who are you? I am 5'4". This is the size of someone told me once, they're like 80% of what you look like, you can't do anything about. It's just your genetics. I.e. the size of your hands, the height, the length of your legs, the width of your shoulders, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your teeth, your face, your ears, your hearing, your eyesight, how you swallow, how you breathe. That's us. So like, why do we try so hard trying to fix this 20% rather than being like, look what the 80% does. Like, I'm privileged, I'm able-bodied, I can walk, I can run, I can shout, like, we're just taught to focus in on I don't know. It's just, I have so many issues but with society and how we look at that. But that's, in answer to your question, how I've harmed myself.
Your enthusiasm is infectious. Like, just listening to you, I hate to say this cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason. It's a breath of fresh air to just hear someone be like, I fucking love my ass. And like,
I do. It's really cool.
That's amazing. Like, how did you get from that teenager to now then?
Well, yeah, so that's like
You're like, well, that's where the work is.
If I had that answer, like, obviously I could bottle it and sell it and I'd be a billionaire. But I think it's individual to everyone, which is, it's a long thing, isn't it? So it's taken me a long time. But I think shutting off noise around you is like probably the first step. So like, I don't know, I identified the people in my life that were having negative effects on me and how I felt about my body. So like, for example, as I said, like my mum, who was brought up from my grandparents who lived through a war and had rations, and it was always about, you know, keeping the same weight, and if you put on a pound you'd stop eating a biscuit. So my mum grew up with this idea of having to weigh the same weight her whole life. So she, you know, inherited that and gave that to me. And I used to weigh myself. I haven't weighed myself. Actually, I weighed myself the other day for the first time in about 2 years, and I'm the heaviest I've ever been. But I'm also the fittest I've ever been and the strongest.
Yeah,
and
definitely the strongest mentally as well, seemingly.
Yeah, and I, for the first time in a long time, look in the mirror. So it's first the thing I think I did was shut off the noise about you have to weigh this much, you have to look like this, you have to be this size. It's just, that's all crap. That's just, we've invented that to sell diet culture. The word diet, I've also... Oh, mate, I could talk about this in depth.
No, please do. It's fascinating.
Also grew up, you know, with like, I don't know, I when I was a teenager, looking back, I was great. I was very healthy. I was never really overweight, but for some reason was on like the Special K diet age 14 and Weight Watchers age 6. I just had this complex that it's body dysmorphia. I just thought I was really ugly and gross and needed to be really, really thin. And fortunately, that didn't ever tip into like, you know, I've got a lot of friends with eating disorders. Well, it was disordered eating, I suppose, because you don't have a healthy relationship with food. But so I guess for me, it was about shutting down the idea of a diet. Like a diet is just the food that you eat. That's literally what the word means.
Yeah.
And shutting off the constant bombardment from society about what we should and shouldn't be eating. Like, we're told all the time, like, don't eat this, avoid gluten, you shouldn't be eating pizza, don't eat ice cream, don't blah, blah, blah. And I think that's a real problem.
Because once upon a time, like, everything was like low fat, don't have any fat, blah, blah, blah. Now it's like you can have everything high fat, just no sugar. It's like, well, fucking make your mind up.
Yeah.
No one really has a clue what they're doing.
Literally. Like, I remember going to university and my friend eating an avocado, like one of the first terms at uni. And I was like, whoa, she's eating an avocado. That's just fat. Because my mum had never eaten an avocado because she was so scared of them being high fat.
Wow.
And I remember just like being like, oh, you can eat an avocado and it's okay. Like, it's fine. So yeah, I think if we try to, I mean, it's really easy to say when you get it from all angles, but I think first off and foremost, like just ignore everything out there, and try and work out what it is that makes you feel good. And I think at that point, I then realised that, and also like it's like an all or nothing society we live in, right? We're either told like, well, you're either obese or you just eat lettuce and sit on a treadmill. And they're the only two options that we have. And actually, if you apply that to how you live, like nobody lives in, you don't think you should live an all or nothing life. I think it's about balance and not vilifying and making yourself feel bad for like, so anyway, my point is I worked out like what made me feel good. And I realised that actually eating birthday cake every day doesn't make me feel good.
Right, okay.
And I discovered movement and exercise and training, and have fallen in love with that, but not from like an obsessive view, not from a point where that's going to get me to an end goal. That's what it is.
Okay,
I have no end goal.
Yes, I think you're completely right there.
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah, only because I'm still probably very much in that figuring it out stage where you have been. And every single time I have dieted, in inverted commas, I have done it purely to lose weight. And even now, I know that if I were to do some better eating tomorrow, I'd be doing it to lose weight. And I also know that is not the right mindset. Yeah. And I know that there's a much healthier relationship to be had with food. I just have fucking no idea how to get there. Yeah. And so, you know, you recommended that Just Eat It book, and there's that Body Positive Power, Megan Crab. And honestly, you'll probably have heard this before, my main fear of reading the book about intuitive eating and stuff is getting fatter. Yeah. And me being like, you can eat what you want, so I am going to have a Domino's for lunch and then a burger for dinner. Like, that's how I feel like this book's going to suddenly make me feel. And so I'm reluctant to read it because I don't want to put on weight. And so I need to figure out how to let myself live without, like, weight is... And I think, obviously it's tied into so many things. Like you said, there are so many layers. Like, it's so ingrained in me to diet and to go off and on. Like, my mum did that throughout her whole life.
Yeah, because they grew up in that culture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it is learned behavior. Like, you just follow the same thing. My siblings are in the same boat as me.
Yeah.
And, my mum was not a slim woman by the end of it. And, that a lot of that kind of stuff could have caused her a heart attack. So that it's a lot more serious too. But I think I don't know whether it's like an addiction or whether the pattern is so ingrained in me that I just physically don't know how to make a different one, or but then I get more frustrated with myself because it's like, I was trying to explain this to someone the other day. It's like I'm in the middle of the road and someone's like, there's a car coming, like, just get out of the road, walk to the pavement. And I know exactly how to walk to that pavement.
Yeah.
And I just don't do it. Every day I fail and I get hit by this truck.
But when you say fail, so like what? So that's probably it. What does failure mean to you? Because when you set yourself up, so you say like, okay, today is Wednesday, and then you're like, oh, it's a write-off. I've had Domino's for lunch and a burger for dinner.
So me.
It's a write-off, and then you'll be like, I'll be better tomorrow.
Or like next Monday.
Yeah, next week, next year, it'll be fine. And so. What are you setting yourself up? What do you hope will happen the next day that you just won't have pizza and a burger?
Yeah, well, I think because like I said, I know that A to B, and I'm trying to find foods that I like, and so that it's fun to eat again. I can have healthier things and enjoy it. So it's not, because I think food as well is such a social thing for me.
Oh, yeah.
And growing up, it was like mum's house was the hub of everything. So people would the door would be open. People would come and there'd be gallons of wine and just food all the time. That's all gatherings were. It was just centered around food. And so I also think there's something in me that says, if life will not be fun if I do not have this. And so this whole dieting thing or restricting myself or eating better looks like not fun. So there are so many layers that are stopping me from ever doing it because I don't want to take away the joy of life. And so that's the all or nothing thing then. Yeah, totally. And I've never learned moderation.
But actually, if you look at certainly the slim people say slim, like not like saying that slim is better, but if we're talking about size, the slim people that I know are the biggest food lovers I've ever met. They're people that will have pudding after every meal. They won't worry about going out for wine. And that is because I truly, people say like the Italians, like the Mediterranean diet, it's a little bit of everything.
Right.
And we do live in this culture that's like, well, no, it's all or nothing. You can't, if you're going to be on a diet, and I use that in quotation marks because I disagree with the word, you can't have burger and pizza and wine and social gatherings and fun. But like, of course you can. You just don't do it every day.
Yeah.
Because I think anybody would get, I would get sick of completely like, I don't know, indulging every single day, because it's like anything in life. If you, I don't know, go on holiday every single day of your life and sit by a pool in the sun with your toes in the sand, there'll be a point when you're like, I'm bored with this now.
Yeah.
Like we're not designed to do the same thing every day.
Yeah, and it is as well, it's that thing as well, isn't it? If you had full reign and someone just like, yeah, okay, well, your weight's probably not going to be affected now. You can eat whatever the fuck you want. Just eat whatever makes you feel good eventually. Figure that out. Mm-hmm. Then you probably would only have a pizza once every week or something, and it would feel good.
And it would.
But as soon as it's taken away from you, you're like, God, I want it more, and I need it, and so. But this is what's frustrating me, is because I fucking know all this stuff. I've learned it over time and time again of going through the same motions. And yet, I just can't seem to fucking get out of it. What advice would you give to me? Basically, give me advice.
But also, I am also not equipped to give advice because I am not a professional in any standards, and also like my journey will be totally different from yours.
But emotionally,
I would say, yeah, as I say, like I've kind of like I stopped living in this fantasy land in denial, where I was like, if I were this weight or this size, I would be happier.
Right.
And that, it's easy to say that, but it I don't know. I've learned to it's accepting where you are and not living in a state of like, yeah, but if I do that tomorrow and then I do it, then this equals happiness. I feel like that's just that's really still unhelpful because it's so vague, isn't it?
No, but
I also really fell in love. I mean, and this is different for everybody, but I fell in love with just the science behind nutrition and
really, that is helpful, isn't it?
And exercise, and just tried to work out, because I feel like Britain especially is really bad at food education, and we don't get taught like what's actually good for you, and we don't get taught how to cook, and we don't get taught how to enjoy food. We just get told from all angles, this is what you shouldn't eat, and this what. But it's prescriptive rather than allowing you to, I don't know, revel in it and revel in the joy of it and the joy of eating. So I guess, I don't know, like how. Just I'm trying to like think like how. It's such a slow burner.
Yeah, it cannot be fixed overnight, can it?
And I think once you resign yourself to the fact that it's not an overnight fix, and actually ultimately, look, I'm not going to lie, it takes a lot of hard work, not just emotionally, but physically. Like I have to say to myself, no, I'm not going to have that pudding because I don't need it, because I'm full. So I say deprive myself of things. I don't deprive myself of certain things, but every day I just listen to my body and go like, what do I actually want? Will I actually enjoy that pudding, or am I just eating because I want, like, I need a pudding.
Okay, right.
But that's still unhelpful.
No, I really don't think it is, because I think that even just hearing you say that you've got to this point after very clearly having a time where you were very much not at that point is really comforting and inspiring to see that can be done very clearly. So I can do it, and it sounds like that way is just so much healthier mentally and physically. So I know that it can happen, and I think, you know, everyone is on their own journeys and they're going to be very different, and it's not going to happen overnight and stuff, but I've no doubt that all of my crazy food issues over the past few years are what's going to get me to this bit eventually where I'll figure it out.
But beyond the food thing, I think the most important thing is falling in love with your body in whatever way that looks like. And that sounds really silly, like you just grimace, you're like, oh, really? I have to love my body? Yeah. But like that came first for me.
Okay.
Is falling in love with it at whatever stage it was. And then now I fall in love with my body in a way that's like, and still daily I do, because I found that for me, exercise makes me feel I'm zinging. I like go for a run, or I sweat, or I lift some really heavy weights and I'm zinging, and my body's getting bigger. I'm getting muscly, and I can lift like an extra whatever kilos at the gym. That's what I focus on. It's nothing to do with actually what I look like. Not actually, if I look at what gives me joy now, it's a feeling of like, I'm strong. And that's what I think personally latched onto, is more like not from an aesthetic point of view, but how do I want to feel? I want to feel like I'm invincible and like I'm capable, and like, just because, you know, they're going to ask someone to lift something, why are they going to ask a guy? I can do it just as good as you. Right. Like, that's what drove me personally. Yeah. So it wasn't, I stopped worrying about what I looked like.
Yeah.
And went like, how do I want to feel? I want to feel strong. I want to feel empowered. I want to feel like I've worked really hard at something, and I can, you know, and physically, like, exercise is so good for you. It releases endorphins. I know we know all this, but it's finding, I don't know, something that gives you joy.
Yeah. And yeah. I think, do you think a lot of like social media, did you like, what do they call it? Like curate your social media feed, like stop following people that are going to make you feel awful about yourself?
Yeah.
Or did you, I guess you never really did that anyway?
No, I did do that, I think, probably. But I've kind of just learned to, it's really hard to, it's like I actually don't care what anyone else looks like. I really have. And I think when you realise that, you then realise no one cares what you look like.
Yeah. See, I think I definitely know that. And I know this because, you know, watching my mum go through her relationship with food and how badly she felt about herself and all the things that she was doing to combat that. And the whole, meanwhile, I'm just like, I couldn't give less for shit. Like, you're just mum. Like,
And I bet you thought she was beautiful.
oh, 100%. Like, the most beautiful woman on earth.
It's amazing.
And so, like, I also
and
know
beautiful because of her personality,
Exactly.
what she gave to people, how she made you feel, her presence.
And so I know that people will feel that about me too. And so I'm better than I used to be. Like, when it comes to inner self-talk, I don't beat myself up. Even if I look at myself in the mirror and I do grimace, I'm like, ooh, okay, right. I won't let myself sit there and be like, you fucking ugly bitch. I'll never do that.
Not to say that, like, I still have days where I'm like, man up, I'm gross. But that's, of course, everybody has that. But you also want to, as you say, like, balance it with, oh, Kate, you're looking absolutely fire today. And whatever that is, if that's like your hair's beautiful, that sounds so cheesy.
No, but it matters.
Have to latch onto the small things in order to appreciate the whole picture.
Totally. And so however hard, and so I'm kind of force myself to be like, rather than being like, okay, I don't like X, Y, and Z, I always stand in the shower every morning and I'm like, thank you that I can walk and that I can breathe and like I've got limbs and like, so I kind of want to try and see my body in that way rather than, you know, it putting on weight and stuff. So I'm desperately trying to see my body in a different way. But I think as well, the music industry just doesn't help. I think you must get this. Being a woman in it, it's so focused on how you look. So ridiculously focused on how you look. Isn't it? And so, and especially like my peers or the people in our kind of field, I say like I'm putting myself with you. But,
I mean, you're in my field, we're musicians, we write songs, same.
But like, they're all... And I know size isn't a thing, but they're all much smaller, petite women.
Painful.
And I'm just like, fuck me, I am not that, like in any way. And so, and I'm sure it made a difference with how I wanted to perform and what I want to wear. And when it came to gigs, I was like, it would almost affect the way that I did the gig, the way that I saw... You know, I'd be like, try and make myself feel good or look good by putting on something nice, then be like, I don't think I look very good. I think I look quite fat. So I'm just going to go in like a really baggy t-shirt and I'll be really chilled at the gig. I won't really care much. Like, it will affect everything. My mum always used to say, she was like, Kate, I've watched you go through many different relationships and many different, like I'm a prostitute, but not many different, but as in many scenarios within my relationship at the time. And she was like, when you feel down about yourself, it's always directly correlated to your weight. And as soon as your weight goes up, it affects your life and you become a very insecure person. So I know that it has actually affected every area of my life. And I think that's something that I'm just like, fuck this. Like, I feel like I can combat everything. I've learned so much emotionally, but this is one thing that just seems to hold me back somewhat everywhere.
So why do you want to? So do you want to lose weight for yourself because you think you feel better when? Like what? Like why?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. Probably because. Yeah, having just worked towards that all your life, you just seem to always think that this thing is going to be the be all and end all.
So
and
do you
make
think
you
you'll be happier, or you'll be a better person, or you'll be kinder or better at your job? Or
well, I'd hope that if I achieved that, my relationship with food would be better, and it would just not creep into every other area of my life. Like, I kind of see it as like a, hang on, this is your podcast. I'm meant to be.
No, but so what you've just put the end goal, and you just said, I feel like if I lost weight, then my relationship with food would be better, right? Mm-hmm. But surely the losing weight part is the irrelevant bit of that sentence. You just want a better relationship with food.
Yeah.
So weight actually has nothing to do with that. That's what I think. Like, weight is so arbitrary. Like, it literally doesn't matter how much you weigh or what size you are or how many inches your thumb measures. Like, it's so irrelevant.
Yeah.
What the goal for you then is to have a better relation. Well, I don't know, maybe it's not, but like.
No, I think you're right. I think there are other things. Definitely in like my past relationship, my ex was very. He loved fitness and had such a good relationship with food, and that was a big part of him and what he wanted our future to be. And that was definitely something that I just wasn't good at.
And
And so there's definitely that as well. I'm like, I have definitely a deep-rooted thing of if I gain weight or if I'm not good, if my relationship with food isn't good or whatever it is, then I am not worthy of love or there's definitely that element to it too.
Yeah.
But I know that that's bullshit. Like, I'm fully aware that is absolutely a crock of shit. But I'm just wondering, where the hell do I start unpicking all this? You know? It's a lot. And so I don't expect you to just come up with an answer.
You're right, though. It's so intertwined. And actually, probably then the reason why I now have a healthy relationship with food, and I say healthy in that I'm not scared of food, of any foods. I enjoy eating food. I feel like that's the base level. Like, you've got to enjoy eating food. You don't have to, but be allowed to enjoy eating food and eat all foods. But it's so intertwined with stuff that's not related to food or your body. It's just like what you're going through in your life, and using food as a vehicle for, I don't know, it's a constant, isn't it? So one thing that we do every day is have to feed ourselves.
Yes.
So we cling on to that. No matter what happens, I've fed myself and I've had a good lunch and it's okay. So do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It becomes an anchor of stability, I suppose. And yet it creates such instability. But also none of this is any of our fault. It's freaking, I don't even know I just get angry. I'm like, why have we been born into this world where like what you look like is so freaking important?
I know. It's really, really sad. And I'm
so
sad.
sad.
I'm sad for everyone that feels this way. And I'm sad for me. Just, like, because personality-wise, I really like myself. I think I'm great.
That's the most important bit.
No. And I know that. I very much know that. So I've got this
also,
core.
like, fair play to you. Like, that's massive to be like, actually, I like myself.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
When did you realise that?
Um,
Have you always known that you were cool? You were cool with yourself. That's everyone has flaws and issues and weird bits, but you're okay with it.
Yeah. And someone, I can't remember who told me this, but someone, because before, like, last year was a really bad year, definitely in terms of self-esteem. I probably wouldn't have said this last year, but someone said that a good way of building self-worth is to do things for other people when no one else is around. And you don't get any credit for it. You don't tell anyone that you've done anything. So that in those moments where you're doubting yourself, you can be like, I know that I am a good person. Even if that is selfishly, there is no selfless act or whatever, but even if that's selfishly to build self-worth, you get so much from helping people anyway.
Of course,
that it's such a nice way to be like, I'm clearly a good person. I help people and I try not to get credit for it. So I can't remember where I felt that. But I think actually going through grief and like breakups and whatever it is, and all the work that I have been doing actively and consciously has made me see myself in a very different way and be like, do you know what? You had a lot on your plate and you still absolutely tried your best and you're still trying. And I know that if that was anyone else, any of my friends, I'd be like, fuck yeah, you are great.
That's all you can ask for, is to just do your best. And
exactly.
Yeah, not put this unattainable, like, Jesus, like, I don't know. I feel like, we don't focus enough on the bit. I'm so like thrilled to hear that you're able to objectively analyze like the amazing milestones that you've made in terms of your, I don't know, relationship with yourself and the world, and you've gone through like some dark shit and you're still here. Like, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So, the number on a scale is, like, in my opinion, so irrelevant. Like, it literally doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean,
I know it does. I know it.
No, it doesn't though. It actually doesn't.
Do you weigh
matter.
yourself?
No.
Good. Don't do that.
In fact, I nearly started to a couple of months ago, but it's just stupid and it becomes obsessive, and it's just how I feel, really.
Yeah,
that's what
exactly.
I really, really think. Do you like yourself?
Do I like myself as a human? Mm-hmm. Woohoo. Yeah, I'm all right.
What are your top 5 qualities?
Oh my god! Oh, see, no, I'm really, really bad at.
Well, you're gonna give it a go.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna give it a go. My top 5 qualities. I am. Look at me here, like, oh look, everybody should love themselves. No. What my 5 qualities are? I would say I'm intelligent. I am. I project confidence. I hope that I would, or my friends would say that I inspire them. I'm very supportive. Like, if anyone's got a plan, I'm like, great, let's execute it. I'm very up for getting stuff done, and I work really hard.
Look at you go.
Oh my God, I'm so fabulous.
You just nailed that. And you are so friendly, and I feel like I could
friendly
just...
street, don't worry about it.
I forgot about that. I could tell you anything. You're an absolute joy to talk to.
Oh, thanks, man. You too.
Okay, now 5 worst qualities.
Oh, that's...
You're like, well,
my 5 worst qualities. I'm very impatient. My 5 worst qualities. I'm very impatient. I have real issues with control. I don't like being told what to do. I have a real hard time with that. And I also really struggle with incompetence.
Really?
Just like if it's on my, like, I guess when you run a business and you're like paying someone to do a job and they don't do it very well, I'm like, come on, I'm literally giving you all the help here and you're just not in it, but that's okay. And I don't, oh man, my worst quality, this isn't a quality. I was about to say I don't practice the piano enough, but that's not a quality, is it?
Not a quality.
I procrastinate then, let's put it that way.
Okay.
And I would have said this up until about 6 months ago. I said I'm really actually quick to judge is probably my worst flaw.
Ah, interesting.
But I've been working on that.
Have
so
you?
I feel like that's less of a thing.
You seem very self-aware then, as a human being. You seem like you have taken a look at all angles of yourself and how you are with people, and
Oh yeah.
that's amazing, because a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah, I probably overanalyze though. I'm a big fan of psychoanalysis on myself and other
Same.
people. I'm always like, which I think is if you're like that, that's a healthy thing. Some people are avoidant and don't like talking about their feelings and themselves, and that's also great. Like, there's no right or wrong, but it's learning to embrace all the facets, because nobody's perfect, right? Everybody has.
No, I think I said this on another podcast actually. Like, I find it impossible to hate or judge anyone really these days, even
Really?
the worst of the worst, like murderers, pedophiles. I can't, because I'm like, if I'd have lived their life the exact same way, the same triggers, the same parents, I'd do the same. Do you know what I mean? And it's really hard to judge people when you can see life just like that. We're just human beings, the sum total of what we have done and learned, and we're just acting on these impulses and triggers that we have, like programs, you know? How can you judge people for that?
Absolutely.
All you can do is hope that they learn and be kind to them. But like hating people and just be, you know, like when you see Facebook comments on, like, I don't know, videos of a fight or whatever, and then they're just kind of like, fuck that guy, I'd strangle him in prison. Do you know what I mean? They're just as bad. And I'm like, well, that's not gonna help, is it?
Yeah, that's so true. I think that's what I've been learning. I feel like if you have that as a younger person, you're very wise, because I think we're told to, like, I don't know, aren't we ingrained to judge people? Like, do you know the novel Mary Shelley's Frankenstein? There's that tiny kid and he's like fearless of the creepy scary monster, and it's only when he is told by the mum or the family member or some person in the community, like, no, you need to be scared of that man, he's horrible, that then the kid becomes like really fearful and runs away. It's like, oh, you're a horrible monster. Like, we're taught to judge by the world. That's how the world functions. We judge each other all the time. But you're right, like, people that do bad things, or just like that, you know, like, even I maybe didn't judge like on that macro level, but on a micro level, like, I'd get really annoyed if I went into a shop, and I'm always like very chatty in a shop. I'm like, hello, how's your day going, what's up? And if people are just like, I don't know, like sat there like, yeah, you're right, or they're on their phones or they're disengaged, I used to get really like annoyed. And then I'm like, people might have had a really crap day. Like, just they might have woken up on the wrong side of the bed and received some bad news, and they don't want to be sat in a shop serving me tomatoes, like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, why are they going to be jolly?
Yeah, I still think all these things. I think as soon as you think it, you're just kind of, you do exactly that. You're like, oh, come on. Like,
which is so unhelpful, actually.
Yeah.
So compassion, it's like compassion for yourself and other people. I feel like that's like a constant journey that everyone's on.
Hell yeah.
And I would hope that when we're really old and wrinkly, we'll just be like, everyone is great. I'm amazing. Like, I'd love that.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I think we're basically there. We could run the world. Okay, let's go for another question.
Oh, God, there's another one. Right, okay.
Well, there's more. There's more where this came from.
Hit me.
Oh, you have to pick a number.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I forgot about that bit. What about number 41?
Okay, 41. What have we got? Is there anyone you regret losing touch with?
Oh, that's oh God, yes, but no. Who have I regretted losing touch with?
No. Are you a person that has regrets? So you like one of those people that's like, what's the point in having them?
I used to, but same, just what we were talking about. Like I regrets. All your actions in a previous life came from somewhere, so you can't feel bad at having behaved like that or like wish that you hadn't, because that was the only path that was, you were destined to behave like that.
Yeah.
So I would have said I had regrets, but yeah, it's easy to say that, isn't it? Mm-hmm. I wish I'd stood up for myself a bit more and just gone, fuck you, I'm being a musician, but I didn't, but I'm here now, so it's fine.
It worked out pretty well. What point did you were you kind of like, right, well, screw what everyone else thinks, I'm just going for it with music? And what were your parents eventually? I guess they had to come on board.
I'm painting my parents to be these like ogres.
Oh no, I've met your mum. She's the most wonderful human being on the planet.
They're lovely, lovely people, but they just always hoped I'd not do music and do something else. I don't know why, but anyway, probably when I met Anthony, he was just a man on a mission. Like I met him when he was 20, 21, and he was just like, there was no other way. He was like, I'm doing music, that's it. Like, why would you ever second guess that or think otherwise? Why would you have a backup? He's like, don't ever have a backup plan, that's just not a thing. And he really, really helped reshape how I viewed just like ambition and the idea that anything was possible, actually. And he was like, at that time, like a big fan of The Secret and had like read the book, and we went to this like workshop. I remember like when I met him, like probably the third time I ever met him, he was like, come to this like cool workshop. And we went to this like creepy room in a basement in London, and there was this man that was like, you can be anyone. And I was just like, why? What is this weird cult you've taken me to? But I think he was instrumental probably in allowing me to believe that I was good enough to do it, or like allowed to do it. I don't know. He just gave me the space to be myself, I suppose. And he made me like quit my job. He was like, don't have a job, just have no money. Don't have money and do something you don't like. Just have no money and like live. You know, I continued to live with my parents all through my early 20s, even though all my friends were like moving out and having a good time. And I was like, no, because then I'd have to get a job. Yeah. No, I shouldn't say this. I shouldn't. But it's different for everyone. But he was just like, yeah, go, if you want to do music, do music. It's no
That must have been so inspiring at that time, having gone from like no, I can't, I've got to do X, Y, and Z, music's just a hobby, and then someone just being like, oh, fuck it, like, just do it, quit your job, do it with me. That must have been incredible to go from that to that.
It was very liberating, actually. Really liberating. I'm very grateful to him perennially for that, which is why if anybody ever like, I still have friends now, and I get, like, the older you get, the more responsibilities you have in your life, and it's very easy to sit here and be like, oh, but I need the money and I need this and but I have so many friends that like hate their jobs, and I'm just like, life is so short. Why would you wake up and not even try to change your situation? Like, I get it, like, people have to do, like, even I have to do all the time things I don't want to do, but at least I'm working towards a higher goal, which is like, you know, I'm going to try not to do the things I hate and try and make myself feel better and nourish myself and do things I enjoy. Like, that's surely the end goal. Maybe not for everyone. I have to also recognise that some people aren't ambitious and are very happy where they are, and that's also amazing. But for me, I was like, if there's something someone wants to do, you just kind of have to go and do it. Yeah. Otherwise, you'll just be living in this tent of despair where you're like, oh, I could have done it, but I didn't. I don't know.
I agree.
Do you?
Yeah, although I definitely used to be so much more ambitious than I am. I feel like the older I've got, I feel like priorities have changed and I just don't seem to care. I think maybe when I got into music, you know, like I think everyone's lying if they say when you very the beginning start music, you don't think about money or like, oh, it would be cool to be known or whatever. But fucking a year or two into it, I was like, oh my God, that would be the worst thing ever. I would hate to be famous.
Oh God, yeah.
So definitely like it changed then, and then it was just about music, and that's when it was just fun. But now, I don't know how you feel about touring and stuff like that, but I just hate touring so much.
How come?
I think, you know, probably again the weight stuff has a lot to do with it. People take photos. I just feel awful about myself after. It's the worst angles from below. But I think I'm not sure that I can be present really. So I feel anxious throughout the day because I'm worrying about, you know, nothing important. What the hell was that? I don't know. Hello? Yeah, I'm just worrying about crap that's not important. I'm anxious about the show because I always just get really nervous. And the meeting people after just makes me feel awful too. Like I honestly just want to go and sit in a room by myself and like not talk to anyone. Like, and I know that sounds horrible because people are just kind of like, you know, naturally they'd like to meet you, they like your music, and I'm all for that in any other scenario. But after a gig where I've been so nervous, I just want to be alone. I don't even want to be near Dan or anyone. So there are so many parts of it that I just don't enjoy. And then obviously we had never really progressed venue-wise. Like we've stayed in the same venues for like 5 years. And that's hard. That's hard to play the same music to a small group of people and not see any growth in something that you love.
Yeah.
And I think so a lot has to be said for that too, which means there is no budget and everything's DIY. So you're lugging up the heaviest stuff up and down flights of stairs, and you have to sleep in a traveler lodge with 2 guys who snore. Like there are so many parts of it that I'm like, oh no, I just want to be at home, like in my own space. And so I think over the years there was definitely a period of my life where I absolutely loved it, and I'd have been like, American tour would have been my dream, but now I'm like, fucking hell, I don't know if I can think of anything worse. I don't know when it changed. But do you have a similar view with touring?
I do, yeah. I think
it's hard for people to admit that because they almost feel guilty for not enjoying a part of this lifestyle.
Very true. I think touring as a whole I think it's weird because when you set out as a musician, you set out with a view that like you love writing music, you love performing music, and that's all you're aware of really. And then you find yourself in the middle of nowhere in Alabama, and you're in a hotel room on your own, and it's like 1 a.m, and you're really tired and you haven't eaten anything, and you're just eating a bowl of mashed potato on your own surrounded by 12 boys, and you're like, sorry, what am I doing here? I just like writing songs. What is this? So I totally relate. I think touring is in itself like the most unhuman thing I think you can do, because you're effectively isolated from normal life for long periods of time. You're surrounded by people. What is weird, like obviously they're my friend, I'm paying them. Like I'm paying people to be around me. That's really weird and uncomfortable. Weird. I'm their boss, I'm their employer. Anything that goes wrong is my fault. Like that's horrible. They're predominantly all men. Like unfortunately the music industry is still very male dominated, and that really annoys me, but I'm doing my best to try and hire women where possible and encourage women to get involved in not even necessarily the performing side, but all the other like lighting and sound. It's like so exciting, or tour managing or whatever that is. Like touring is super incredible, and I don't know why there aren't more women, but that's another conversation. But and then on top of that, you're then having to be your best self every night of the week, which is unnatural for anyone. But you have to be your best self, look your best self, and stand on a stage in front of thousands of people sing brilliantly because everybody's paid £25 to watch you sing and saved up all their hard-earned money, which I know people like. It's a luxury going to a concert. It's entertainment. They've been waiting for it. There's the anticipation. It's literally on you to deliver that and fulfill that need that is in someone because they want to go to a live show and release and experience euphoria or sadness or whatever it is they're there. That's on you. Then you have to deliver a good show. Then you have to come off, and people then want another little piece of you, and which is incredible because that's also why you make music why I do anyways, is to have that connection with why I tour anyways, to have a connection with other people. But that is exhausting because you're just basically being told how brilliant you are for an hour, which I really don't like. And it's very one-sided, the whole thing. So you're giving yourself over to people. You're getting a lot of energy back, but it's all about you. And that is very dangerous because then you become I'm super insular on tour. Like I just hang out by myself the whole time. And same as you, like all I want to do after I play a show is process what's just gone on. I've got so much energy. So in the last tour, I basically just put on it because I had so much energy and you're performing so late at night. The whole thing's nocturnal. It's all very like abnormal. I just used to put my running kit. And I'd literally run through the venue. No one would recognise me or notice me because I'm in like my running kit, and just run around the venue like 50 times.
That's amazing.
Just to get rid of all my energy, but then also just not be present in that space and just like try and process it away from what. So anyway, touring is really weird, and it's exhausting. It's the most difficult part of the job because we've been on tours where like you'd average about 2.5 hours sleep a night for 7 days, and then you still have to be on. No. And people assume they're like, all my friends are like, how's first class? And I'm like, you think what? You know.
Like, where the hell
you think I'm just chilling with my butler, like
yeah,
sleeping in beautiful whatever hotels all the time. Like there's same thing, like you're lugging gear. Like when you tour Asia and Australia, I can't afford to pay like all these people to lug 60 cases of luggage around. So we get our crew to do it, but each of us is doing 2 trolleys between terminals into a bus, unloading into the hotel, going to like we're working hard and then having to do interviews and press, and then someone recognises you in the street and they're like, oh my God, I need to tell you my story. And you're like, I really want to hear your story, but I also haven't eaten in 8 hours and I'm a bit grumpy. And then you come across a bit grumpy and then you read tweets being like, wow, Josephine was a bit cold. And you're like, I'm not cold, I'm just really tired. I want to sit down and see my mom and hang out with my friends, and I'm missing my best mate's birthday. But you're also touring the world, singing your songs to people. And that's unbelievable. I just say for that hour on stage, any 23 hours of hell is fine.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you love performing
that
much?
And that's the only reason that we tour is because
really?
and comparatively would say that he loves touring. Like it's absolutely his thing. Like he would just do that forever. But I really struggle with the other 23 hours of the day and the pressure that's on you to just constantly be good, which nobody like in normal life. Your mates are like, do you want to come out? And you're like, actually, I just need to sit at home and just watch a bit of telly and cook myself some pasta and just be okay with that. And you can't do that.
And it's so unusual as well because it's not like all of your friends or your close friends can understand everything that you're going through or have been there. It's that relatable because it's not many people do exactly what you do in the same band, in the same bus. Like it's all so specific to you and your situation that not many people can understand. So it's also kind of isolating too. And then is it when you kind of come back from tours, do you find it hard to adjust back to normal life? Or are you kind of like, oh, thank God, like I get some home time?
Yeah, I'm probably the latter. But also then find it difficult to people say like, how was tour? And you just go, yeah, it was great. Because like, how do you distill, if you don't know what touring's like, it's really difficult to distill it down into actually how you feel about it because... And it's really weird, like I guess if before I knew what touring was, it just seemed like the best holiday. It like literally the best holiday. You're going around the world and you're singing every night songs that you've written, people are singing them back to you. You get to meet all kinds of people, experience all kinds of cultures. It's the best holiday. And it feels really funny saying that it's not a holiday, because like I still have friends who are like, how was your holiday? I'm like, yep, my holiday was good. Not a holiday, but sure. And it's a weird space to inhabit, but so yeah, we're at the point now of like being like, how, because we're off on, can I say that, off on tour next year, so just trying to work out how best to make sure that it's sustainable for our physical and mental health, and I don't just mean me and Ans, I mean like the whole crew and everybody. Like everybody needs to be looked after.
Yeah, I was talking to Woody from Bastille, and he was saying they've got a general rule of 3 weeks on. They can only ever do 3 weeks. That's their max, and then they'll have time off to make sure that they have with their friends and family, which I thought was really good. But I wonder whether it's, do you get to a certain level where you can start saying that stuff, or whether it's still kind of decided for you?
You can say that. We've had that control from the start,
right?
But yet we've still done 3-month tours, and I don't,
right.
Looking back, I look
You're
back
like,
and I'm like,
why?
Because also, like, I feel like everybody's thing is different, but we came from a place where like I still am in that place. Everything's a bonus,
right?
Because like when you don't ever think that you'll be able to viably tour, and then you start being able, you're like, we can go to China.
We can go anywhere.
We can go anywhere. Like, and people obviously offer shows, and you're like, yes, we'll do it. There's no like thought about it. You're just like, this is so exciting.
Yeah.
And then you find yourself on a 3-month-long tour without having a sit down, doing 5 shows in a row, and then just being physically so burnt out. But that's a good 3 weeks. Yeah, we're gonna do no more than 3 shows in a row.
Amazing.
With a day off. And the day off has to be like stationary in a place. Like, it can't be traveling. It's like, you got to be a hotel in a city so you can just be normal for a minute. And I think we'll do. I mean, it's gonna, look. I say it like it's gonna happen, but it will be harrowing, I'm sure, because you just get too caught up in it and really excited. But because it's also equal parts.
Yeah, I bet.
Insane. It feels really weird to think about it now. I'm not there.
Yeah, when you're not in it. How do you mentally prepare for a tour then, knowing like what do you physically do to be like, right, how can I make this better for me in the next coming weeks, months?
What do I do? I suppose.
Do you like, because I'm wondering whether I'd set up phone calls with like my family each Tuesday, like, or something.
No, I'm really bad at that, because touring is such a bubble, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And you're on time zones a lot of the time, so you can't. Becomes really hard. I went through a phase of like trying to take up a hobby on each tour.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
It didn't transpire to much though. I'm still really bad at a lot of things. But
what did you try?
Just tried to I got really into knitting on one tour.
Why can I so imagine you doing that?
It's so therapeutic. Really bad. Knitted a really wonky scarf and then gave up. The only thing that keeps me sane is that's probably a lot of it, exercise.
Right.
Keeps me really, because that is actually, if I think about it, the only hour in the day where I'm just on my own doing what I want.
And it's yours, and it's for you, and it's for your brain.
Nobody else's. Yeah. And that's probably where I get my most joy. Or like, I exercise every day on tour, no matter where we are, or just move, because also it's so sedentary, or just sat down the whole time.
Just waiting for something all the time.
So I do that, and I watch a lot of TV, which is probably really bad, but I watched so much Grey's Anatomy.
Really?
14 series. I've signed up I'm doing a paramedic science degree this year.
I did read this somewhere,
Open University. I've signed up for it. So
Fucking
that's what
hell.
I'll be doing this year on tour, is doing a paramedic science degree, thanks to Grey's Anatomy. I want to be a paramedic. So you've got to keep stimulated somehow, man.
That is insane, though. That is amazing and admirable and inspiring. Now I know why you'd say your friends are always inspired by you.
No, they're not inspired by me. I just hope I encourage my friends to be the. Like,
you're inspiring me.
No.
You're like, no. That's amazing, though. As in, like, what, you have to take like loads of books with you and do assignments
it's
and
all
shit?
it's all online. So it's Open University, which is an amazing thing. You can study anything you want, and it's all online learning. It's pretty cool.
That is
so it
actually
takes
cool.
6 years part-time.
Oh my God.
Or you can do it in like the normal 3
Yeah.
years full-time, but I feel like it's like 18 hours a week, like part-time. That still feels like quite a lot to me.
Yeah, it's a hell of a
hours
lot.
a day.
Wait, so does that mean then, are you kind of preparing for a time where you can be like, just
Be a
stop
paramedic?
using? Yeah, is that like something you want to do?
No, I don't want to do it.
Ah.
But as in, I think I'll always make music, always, just because I need to, like, in the same way I need to breathe, I need to write songs. I don't necessarily need to perform them, I just need to create. But I think this is probably also stemmed from, like, I don't know, do you ever feel like as a musician it's like quite a self-indulgent thing?
Yes.
So I think probably I'd like to hope that there'd be an end goal of, like, giving back and, like, adding value to other people in a real tangible way. Like, music does, of course it does, but it's very intangible because you never touch or meet or see the person that, well, you do at gigs, but, like, it's not.
But I know what you mean, yeah. It's not the same thing.
It's a vehicle for change and a force for good, and I definitely believe that, but it's not as direct as maybe, like, literally saving someone's life. Oh my God, I literally get shivers thinking about being, like, if you just, like, I don't know, like, cut your leg open, I'd be like, don't worry about it, I've got it, I know
like,
what to do.
How cool would that be?
Oh, it'd be so cool.
And you could be like the on-tour paramedic. You'd always just be there.
I'll be that person, you know, they hire, like, the ambulance crew at the gigs. They're, like, waiting for people to...
And that's where I'm going to cut it short today, folks. But you can get the last bit of that episode on my Patreon, patreon.com/Kate McGill, for as little as $1. So sign the hell up and enjoy the last bit of that episode. How wonderful is Josephine? I want her to be my real life best friend. And yeah, it sounds clingy and it sounds desperate and it sounds weird. And I already have best friends. But you know what? She made me feel so bloody good. And people like that are rare. And no wonder so many people love her and gravitate towards her, because that kind of energy is priceless. Okay, so I will see you back here in a couple of weeks' time. I hope you have a wonderful life till then. And don't forget that if you're going through it at the moment and life's just a bit shit, it's going to get better. Oh my God, it always does. It really does. I had such a bad time this past couple of months, year, and oh my God, amazing things have happened for me recently, and I feel so grateful for it. So just keep holding on, keep going. Life's gonna be okay. All right, speak to you soon.